One of the things with being me, I don't know if Kenny feels that way. We don't really know what we are, right? Because we're not actors in the traditional sense.
Right.
So, what the fuck are we? To me, the closest I can say is I'm a personality. But we got away with a whole lot of shit, especially on Showcase. That I've said this lovingly, that it was neglect, on their part, and thank God for it. They might. I wasn't in the offices. Maybe they just loved it and said, let them do their thing. They're doing a great job. I don't really know.
Somewhere, I believe they said it cost you guys $400,000 an episode at one point.
I think so.
How does that? I don't know much about the biz or how the pricing works. How does that work? That seems like an excessive amount of money to someone like me looking from the outside. It makes sense for you. It makes sense for your fans. But if you took that out of the equation and just show that to a random person on the street, you're like, wait, what? Someone actually wanted to get fingered by this guy.
Yeah. Again, I don't like calling fingered.
Okay.
I like exam.
Okay, fair.
You're listening to Bored with Nelly.
All right, we are good to go. Spenny, welcome to the Bored with Nelly podcast. Thank you for your time. I really appreciate it. I'm a big fan of the show. I am Nelly. I am Nelly. That's my nickname.
That's a girl name, isn't it? Nelly?
It's the most common. You know how you guys get a lot of jokes that you hate over and over again? That's the number one thing for me. Nelly Furtado.
I was thinking Nelly. Maybe I'm thinking of something else, but okay.
The Canadian singer, right?
No, I'm not. I don't know who she is, but I've heard of her. But no, Nelly. Someone's a Nelly she's a female, like a wimp. But you know what? I don't like all these old labels. So let's move on.
Yeah, true. So I wanted to ask, the origin first content I've ever seen from you and Kenny was the pilot movie. And I was wondering, what was life like before that? Were you just finishing film school, trying to get into the scene?
Kenny, before you're talking about before Kenny Vs Spenny came out?
Even before during the pilot documentary that you guys did, the movie.
Pitch, you mean?
Pitch, sorry. I even wrote pilot. Why the hell? Yeah, sorry. The Pitch movie. Yeah, that was a really good, I guess, insight.
That was, I think basically, the events were, Kenny and I met, we fell in love with making little videos, mostly home videos, with Kenny edited, and we had a Super 16 video camera, I think it was called, or a 16 video camera. And we were running around Toronto making a movie with Bobby, who's Uncle Bobby from the series. We collaborated on a few things, and we just really liked it. And we sort of decided that we were going to get into the business through writing a script, which we wrote. And then we naively decided that we were going to sell it ourselves. And we got on the phone and started calling actors, agents, and this and that. And we're just given the runaround. They had wanted nothing to do with us. We didn't have representation. We weren't in LA, blah, 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 blah. And we somehow had the idea, let's film this train wreck. And that was the birth of Pitch. And the most amazing thing was that we raised the money to make it.
Right.
It was shot on Super 16 film. And then we blew it up to 35 when we felt it was good, and we were getting we were getting accepted in some of the festivals. So that's where the Wolfish money came in.
I saw this meme. I don't understand this meme. What's the Wolfish owes me 10K meme or whatever?
Well, it's really a business decision that a guy named Wolfish made to become a producer on the film. And he paid for that with $10,000, which we immediately spent on the blow up, which was I think $60,000.
Wow!
And it was expensive. And then he just started asking for his money back, constantly calling, regretting his decision. The money was gone, and just to get him to stop calling, I made the mistake of saying that, look, if I can, I'll pay you back. I left myself a lot of wiggle room. I just wanted the phone calls to stop.
Right.
And Kenny, who's a brilliant gaslighter, it's the new word they use, gaslit the whole thing till I killed his dogs. And it just, you never know what things, certain things take off, like kissing him in Amsterdam. Owing wolfish money, and here we are, 11, 12 years later, and people are still going on about it.
I just didn't understand the memes.
It's annoying and it's boring, but it shows that people are like the show, so I can't get that upset about it.
What was the goal with the movie? Was it to see like behind the scenes how much of a struggle this is, and maybe to tell other people?
I think it was more narcissistic than that. I think we really had never pondered putting ourselves on camera. So I think once we decided to do that, it really became about how to make an entertaining movie with this premise of us trying to sell the script. It turned out to be a sort of cautionary tale, I would say, about Hollywood. But I think most people know, they should know, it's very difficult to sell a script in Hollywood.
Yeah. Was that like the lighter that kind of sparked this, like you guys want to have more camera time and work on the dynamic?
Well, that happened as a result of, we made the show, we got into festivals, and we'd sit and be invited to festivals that it was in, and we'd sit with the audience, and we noticed that they were laughing. And, our comedy nerdism immediately sort of kicked into oh my God, we're a comedy duo. I'm the straight and he's the crazy guy. The difference is, and what makes the thing unique is that it's a very natural, real, not put on,
Right.
So when you had like Abbott and Costello, or Laurel and Hardy, Laurel was, the comedic, genius, and did a lot of the writing, and, worked hard on the production end of things. So it was an act, right? Where with us, we try to minimize the acting as much as possible. And that's just by virtue of this new genre, which I think Tom Green, really got going, which is this reality comedy genre. So, that's basically what Pitch was to us. It was a confirmation that we could be funny and that we could actually be on camera.
But you guys were friends before this, long before this. You guys have known each other for a long. Do you think it's like almost destiny that you both loved film and being acting? And because that seems like a crazy, like, statistical anomaly that you guys would be in the same genre of work.
Yeah, I mean, and furtherly weird is that I'm older than he is, and we became close friends because we had a thing in Canada. Where are you? Are you in Canada?
I'm in Windsor.
Okay, you're in Windsor. So I spend a lot of time there, actually. So look, basically, what was the question?
I was saying, like, isn't it kind of weird that you guys both found each other?
Oh yeah. So that was our fathers were friends, so we knew of each other. And what really, I think, solidified it was I had no compunction to get serious towards the end of grade 13, which was now
end of high school.
Right. When all my friends, Jewish academic wannabes and some were, they sort of got serious around grade 13, right? Because in Jewish homes, education's extremely important. So I didn't have that. I didn't want that. So I naturally gravitated towards the younger kids who were still partying and having fun. And that's how Kenny and I really became friends, even though we knew each other since we were very small because our fathers were friends. So,
You gravitated towards.
So I don't know. I mean, it's always lucky, but everything in life is lucky.
Sure.
Just being born.
Sure. So did you move to LA after that movie, or did you spend any time living in LA?
We moved to LA after the movie because we had a woman who was connected to a guy named David Tochterman, who was the talent executive for Will Smith's Overbrook Entertainment. And I guess she had seen Pitch in one of the festival screenings and thought that we had a relationship or an act or whatever you want to call it that would be better for TV than movies. And so she got us a development deal. And we each got what seemed like a lot of money back then. And we moved out to LA and we pitched the show. And finally USA Network picked it up, and it was the worst pitch meeting we'd ever taken in our lives.
Why? Why was it bad?
Well, we were pitching one guy named Stephen Chow, an Asian American guy, I guess, and he didn't smile, he didn't laugh, he didn't show any inkling that he even understood or got the show. Where other pitch meetings, we were like giving high fives, and we did it, and they passed almost invariably. So we did the pilot there for KVS, and halfway through they pulled the plug on us. They didn't have the same idea we did of what the show was. And we were too probably naive to listen to them and realize the power of an executive in the United States. Anyhow, so that's really what happened. And we ended up, because we did go to film school, finishing the pilot ourselves. And then we stayed in LA and lived, a very frugal existence because we had blown through the Will Smith money, and then John Moranis had seen the pilot, and he was with Alliance Atlantis, and he started his own company, and he took us out, and we sold the show to CBC, 26 episodes. And then Matt and Trey got involved around season 3 or 4. They did one season with us. We were on Comedy Central, which was a great money-making year. We got paid. And then that sort of tanked in the States, and it really wasn't given a chance to succeed. So, I'm not surprised by the result. We got kicked off CBC. Actually, before that, I'm going out of order.
Yeah, there was a lot of cancellations, so it's okay if you forgot.
Showcase picked us up, which was a real great thing, because most when CBC passes or stops doing a show, it's usually dead. You move on, but they took it because we had a fan base. We were just on the wrong network at the wrong time, so we very lucky to get that second shot.
That journey that you took, which was through the classical Hollywood, go to the grinding your way through LA, right? Are you kind of upset that you're not in this era where like you can literally be on the internet and start from, one subscriber? And
we all, I would be lying if I said Kenny and I didn't want to be a huge success in the United States. That wasn't happening for us. And there's reasons why. I think if we were given a fair shot, we would have had a better chance.
Sure.
But there's a lot of politics, which I can get into if you want to. It's kind of boring, but anyway. I'm enjoying the internet. I've got a show that I'm going to start doing a kind of weekly or bi-monthly show. And I got my green screen up over there.
I saw you're doing some live streams. It looks fun. Looks like a good time.
Yeah, it's always about monetizing. I know I get labeled as being greedy and all this stuff, but the truth is, I like to provide for my family, and
my counter to that is, if there's one person on this planet who has suffered enough, I think it's you. So it's like, come on, guys.
I don't know. I would think there's Holocaust survivors that would.
Well, okay.
But yes, in the TV realm, I've certainly taken my chops, but it's just how I want to do things. And,
sure.
And the marketplace has a way of working itself out. So the Zoom calls, for example, I've done because all my touring has been canceled because of COVID.
Yeah,
so,
of course.
So I push that hard, and I get a lot of angry blowback about the pricing, this and that. And the reality is, it's doing great. I had a real lesson to learn, starting out with Kenny Vs Spenny and chat rooms and internets, what to ignore and what not to ignore and what to work with. So I learned how to weave the trolls into the comedy in a sense, and they become almost a character on my page. So I use them.
Yeah, of course. It's all about perspective too, like how you view these things, right?
Yeah, I mean, I'm very confident. I've always been confident in my abilities to do things, but I'm terrible at business. I don't like schmoozing. So that part of it, Kenny has sort of been historically better than me at, and he's been doing that for himself and for both of us. And you know what? There's a certain point where, I pinch myself that I'm still, after all these years, being creative one way or the other and earning a living for my family.
That's truly the dream for most people, right? To do something they enjoy.
Yeah.
That's something 99.9% of people will never experience,
Yeah. And I'm very grateful for it. And I'm also proud of myself because, there are many, many moments that I could have given up or gone another direction. And, there's a price to pay for it. Of course,
Sure.
It's not all good. I basically, live kind of month to month, especially now with all the shows being canceled. There's no pension. There's no all that stuff. So, but that doesn't exist for a lot of people anyway.
Right. Yeah. You could have gone the other way and you could have ended up at the same place, right? But you would have been much more miserable doing something.
So, again, I just love being creative, and it could be a stupid little creative thing like the great unblocking, which I'm doing tomorrow. It's just
fun. Yeah, of course.
It's fun. And I don't know what people think of me. And as soon as I stopped caring, it became a lot more fun.
Right.
Just, follow your muse and, let the market decide. I mean, if all of a sudden, nobody's getting Zoom calls, nobody's wanting to do anything with me, then I'll reassess things. But right now it's going reasonably well. I opened the YouTube channel. And I
think you're finding your content. I think you're finding what people want to see. I've noticed some of your videos, like I know which ones are kind of doing better. Like some of the rant videos are doing better. People love to hear you rant. So you're kind of figuring out almost like
100% content. Not just what the content is, but just how to do it.
Of course.
How to work it in. And, frankly, I'm working with this guy, Jonathan Brown, who, has just been terrific for me. Great co-creator. And super funny and supportive and a fan. He's a fan, which I still have trouble believing I have fans.
Right.
But so it's just different. And then touring will come back, I assume, at some point, and back doing music and comedy. But I'll continue doing this online stuff because again, if it makes no money, I won't do it, and I don't think there's anything wrong with that. I'll always try to find a way to be creative and make money at the same time.
I think you can earn both of those things. I don't think that's a crazy thing to go for. But I had a question. Sorry. I had a question about, I feel like maybe I'm wrong. I haven't seen too many origin stories of how you actually came up with like the first premise and first script for Kenny Vs Spenny. Like, was that,
did you
sit
Kenny,
down and
Yeah. Kenny will say that he came up with it. I don't remember who came up with it. I don't care. So let's just say he did. It'll make him happy. And it's possibly true. I don't know. But it came about as a result of the deal that we did with Will Smith's company. They asked for 3 or 4 ideas, which is a sort of a philosophic process in terms of you go pitch, and if they don't like one idea, you go to the next one. Some people don't like that philosophy. They like to go in hard with one. And if that, but that was one of 4 shows that we came up with.
What were the other ones? Anything actually like
the only one I remember was sort of a real life Testies, if you know Kenny's series Testies.
I've heard of it. I haven't watched it, but
yeah. So it was basically like, I think it was called Guinea Pigs, and we were going to put ourselves up for experiments. I'm glad that they went with Kenny Vs Spenny, though both Kenny and I, didn't like aspects of shooting that show. Part of that sadistic audience thing that there was no way around it for us, right?
Right. That's a big thing that no one ever talks about, because like I always say, like, oh, Spenny wanted to quit because of this episode or because was there any times where like Kenny was just maybe because of the politics, the show being canceled, or
I never really knew him to want to quit the show. It was always me. Kenny is he's a strange guy, man. He's can be very, very focused and very caring and micromanaging, and then he can be totally not. So it's one or the other. But with Kenny Vs Spenny, I think he liked the content, saw that the show was successful, it was making us money. So he really put a lot into it. And I don't recall him ever saying, I remember me making him very angry for different things. And, and from the way I walked out of promos, I did all kinds of sort of, it sounds like it was diva behavior, but with me, it was mental health behavior.
Sure. Well, considering what you were going through at the time, I think it's pretty reasonable, I would say, for most people to put themselves in that situation, right?
I think so. Maybe I could have been more professional, but again, I've never, one of the things with being me, I don't know if Kenny feels that way. We don't really know what we are, right? Because we're not actors in the traditional sense.
Right.
So, what the fuck are we? To me, the closest I can say is I'm a personality. That's it, and a comedic personality or a comedic, I don't know, what the word is, but so we're really on our own track. I've never, and I'm sure Kenny has never auditioned for anything. We've never really worked on other people's projects very much. I have more than he has. So we're sort of fiercely independent, and we don't really fit into any classic show business parameters. So I literally, I don't know what the fuck it is that I do other than I try to make people laugh and I play. That's it.
But this is what probably made it so hard to like pivot, even after like a successful show like that, which is, it's no doubt that was one of the most successful shows in like Canadian broadcast history, right?
I don't know about that, but
no,
anyway.
Maybe on comedy.
Kenny says shit like that. The Trailer Park Boys were a lot more popular than we were, for example. But we're thrilled with the success. I would call it more of a boutique kind of success or cult status than mainstream. But we're thrilled with it either way, right?
Sure, of course. Was it hard working during that time with television networks and then constantly getting,
Well, like I said, the pilot was, the misunderstanding there was they weren't a comedy network, first of all. And they sort of, I don't know how old you are, if you remember Spy versus Spy from my Mad magazine. Anyways, they wanted a kind of Spy versus Spy show where, like, if Kenny got, 6 pit bulls to attack me, then I would come back with 12 pit bulls.
Oh, boy.
And it was not at all what we were contemplating. Ours was much more real and personality based. So they, as I said, pulled the plug on it. But so that's where the network has a whole lot of power and they use it. I mean, they can't do much more than turn off the show and cancel it. So, but then when we got to CBC and to a certain extent Showcase, they really let us do our thing. And we didn't know if it was a Canadian thing, because historically in Canada, going back decades, bad shows could stay on the air for almost forever. And then it became a little bit more sort of the US model of, if you don't have the numbers, the ratings, you're gone. Still a kinder, gentler version of that. But, we got away with a whole lot of shit, especially on Showcase, that I've said this lovingly, that it was neglect, on their part, and thank God for it. They might, I wasn't in the offices. Maybe they just loved it and said, let them do their thing. They're doing a great job. I don't really know. But we had very little, to answer your question, very little network interference.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah.
Very lucky.
You always talk about how, if you were to come back, do a show today, you would do it differently. But I don't know if you've gone ever into detail about what that means. Like, how do you think you would do the show differently?
I don't remember ever saying that. I could possibly, but how would I do it differently? I don't know. I mean, I really don't know. I think you got to be in the moment. It really will depend. I mean, we're not going to do something where we reverse roles, right? That wouldn't be real or honest or authentic. So I'm not really sure what I would do differently, because so much of what worked in the original show was my keeping my eye on the prize and doing what, quote unquote, every man would do in a competition. Seek expert help, practice, and try your best. And
the right way.
Yeah, the right way.
The right way.
Which I happen to believe greatly in general about life. So that's why it's very real to my personality. And Kenny's exact opposite. I mean,
Yeah, that was a good moment. I watched an episode last night with my little cousin. It was the it was the one with who can create the most sperm, and you won that contest. You won it. You filled it out with shampoo, and Kenny bought it. He was hooked in all the way, and then at the end you told him, "Hey, I cheated." So like I think that moment kind of envisioned or embodied what the character differences were.
Yeah, I mean, again, when you're doing a show as stupid as Kenny versus Spenny, you feel almost dumb trying to apply, your real self or your worldview or your ethical, philosophical outlook. But occasionally I would do that regardless. And then I realized that that's really who I am. Like, I'm just, there's no strategy with me, right? I have very little strategic thought. I have creative thought and I put it out there. I don't, and that's to my discredit oftentimes, to be honest, but where Kenny's much more strategic about
diabolical.
Yeah, and I'm talking about beyond Kenny versus Spenny, just his career, how he plots out his career and his projects. Where I don't have that, and I don't. I'll listen to people if I respect them, and they say don't do that one, or that's too much or whatever. But again, it doesn't happen very often. So.
Yeah, Terrence and Phillip from South Park. I want to ask about this. I don't know if you know those characters from their show.
Yeah.
Did you draw any, inspiration, I guess, or like take any ideas from?
I thought, to be honest, not being a huge South Park fan, I thought that they were us, that they had taken us. I mean, oh my God, farting on each other on a couch in Canada. I mean, it seemed like us, but Terrence and Phillip, I never really, even though I certainly got to spend time with the South Park guys because of season 4, where they came on board. I found they never really answered many questions that we asked them about their work.
They were very in their own bubble, kind of.
I don't know. Like, I remember when I first time I really met them, and I asked them about Lemmy Winks, which was the episode, the gerbil. I just thought the name was so funny. And where did that name come from? Lemmy Winks. And they wouldn't tell me, or they didn't know, or they didn't care. Whatever it was a completely unsatisfying answer to a non-existent answer. So, yeah.
I wonder if those guys just operate on like a different frequency or something. They have to, surely, right?
Well, I think they're a little like us, or we're a little like them in terms of being outside the system. They've got their own South Park studios. They figured out a way to use satellite technology with the animation, which essentially means that their final cuts for the shows land like hours before it airs, which consequently makes it impossible for network executives to control what they do. So they're sort of outside the system, guys. Kenny knows Matt very well. He knows them both, but I had a bad experience with them. I think right off the top with a drinking situation, which Kenny likes to talk about. And then I argue that that's probably why they, because they saw how crazy we were. But anyways, it doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter. It's so funny. The Terrence and Phillip thing was like 4 or 5 years before the show, and it was so spot on and almost like a glitch in the Matrix, like 2 Canadian guys farting at each other. And then that episode happens like 6 years later.
So the timeline is Terrence and Phillip were before.
I don't know if that episode specifically was, but Terrence and Phillip first appeared in like 1998, I think. I could be wrong. Terrence Phillip first episode. Yeah, I think it predated Kenny Vs Spenny.
Okay.
April 1st, 1998. Yeah.
So we were on before that, weren't we?
Were you on before that?
Yeah. We'll go look at season 1. I'm terrible with chronology.
2002
was season 1.
That was when the show started. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So then I'm wrong. I'm taking a pitch.
Yeah, no worries.
Yeah. All right. So that's just a coincidence.
But it's one of those funny things, and like even you see it in Simpsons a lot, where they kind of predict the future with a random cartoon joke that's like 13 seconds in the show. Someone finds it, like, oh my God, they predicted the election. Oh my God, they predicted the pandemic.
I've never seen that, but I believe you.
No, there was one where Trump, I believe, is at like the mall, and like it was like a 20 years ago this episode or something like that, and he's waving hands like he's gonna be the next president. And then literally that image happened when he went to a mall in like 2016, and it's like side by side. You're like, did these guys have like access to the future or something? Because it was spot on.
I doubt it, but okay.
I had some other like smaller, I guess, kind of questions, not really long topic questions. You had a female audience, a pretty big female audience, apparently.
It's hard to say, but yes, definitely a female audience.
Well, did this surprise you? Did you have any theories?
I think it surprised us. I do. I think everything surprised us. The fact that we got a show surprised us. I think how good the show was surprised us. How good we were surprised us. At least I'll speak for myself. But I guess my ego is healthy enough to say, hey, why wouldn't girls like us?
Sure.
First of all, everybody's attracted to people on TV. period.
That's true.
And we were younger and I think somewhat attractive and funny. And, so it never really, surprised me once we got over the fact that that it happened, that there were women involved. It made sense.
Was there any crazy girl fans or,
Yeah. I've had crazy women in my life before television, during and after, but, we'd play some places, and live touring, and girls would go up in the hotels screaming down the hallways looking for us, stuff like that. But awesome. It was all very manageable and fun.
That's awesome. Yeah, the tour seems like was such a great idea when you guys came up with it. I went to see it here in Windsor. Even my cousin saw it in like Germany, in Munich. You guys went to Munich?
Yeah. Where did you? Yeah, we played Germany. 3 cities in Germany.
Yeah.
So you saw us at that weed place?
Yeah, the weed place in Windsor.
Yeah, okay.
I saw you do a live colonoscopy, and yes. I was pretty out of it. And it was just the most entertaining hour in quite a while. I'm not gonna lie to you.
Oh, good. I'm glad. It's again, the live act is very unique. In whatever my historical knowledge is of stand-up comedy, I don't really I've never seen anything quite like what Kenny and I do. And over the course of the 5 or 6 years we've been doing it, we've really tried to make it an act that you don't have to know Kenny versus Spenny to enjoy it.
It was memorable. That's probably the best word I would say. It's just memorable. I don't know if there's any other shows that stood out in my mind like that one.
Yeah.
So yeah. Sorry,
yep,
go ahead.
But that's it.
I had another question. Somewhere, I believe they said it cost you guys $400,000 an episode at one point.
I think so.
How does that? I don't know much about the biz or how the pricing works. How does that work? That seems like an excessive amount of money to someone like me looking from the outside.
Yeah, well, it's not, because we had a team in place, not just a technical team, but a production team. You're looking at editing, having 3 editing bays going with 3 editors. Your camera rentals, sometimes camera people bought their own equipment.
You're filming 7 days a week?
No, we were filming 3 days a week usually, unless the competition went longer. Editing, sound mixing, all that stuff you have to pay for.
It adds up, right?
It adds up.
The camera,
and then our salaries.
Oh, true.
We weren't working for nothing, so it really does add up, and it's very easy to blow through that kind of cash on a TV series.
I mean, there's levels to this game, right? Because like Ray Romano made like 1.2 million an episode of Everyone Loves Raymond. That was just his cut. So I can't imagine how much that show was to with all the people they had on it. Yeah.
Well, that's what happens, as soon as it's funny, you can sign a contract, but it's like an unwritten law in Hollywood that if you're Tony Soprano or whatever that actor's name was, I'm forgetting now, and he decides after season 3, the producers are making so much money off of my work, they renegotiate.
Right.
Which is strange that they even allow it,
right.
But the one defense is, I'm not feeling well today. Right? And you can't do the show without him.
Right. He's so valuable. He knows that.
Right. And everybody gets burned when a show first starts. Everybody gets burned creatively. And then if the show is lucky enough to be successful, there's the leverage that you never had. And
the camera guys are also kind of, to me, unsung heroes of the show, right? Because they're like almost like the most ultra hardcore Kenny Vs Spenny fans, because they just want pure entertainment. And
it's more Sebastian was a hardcore, I wouldn't call him Kenny fan, but a pal, and was very similar, and they'd known each other so long that Sebi really knew how to, because some days you're just lazy, some days you're not, your head's not in it. Sebi was very good at putting Kenny on track, where I think the people that worked with me I'm just a totally different animal, the way I approach the show, the way I approach comedy. So it didn't require really a fan as much as just someone who would, push me to go further with the ideas that I had. That Brian and Kevin were great at that. And,
do you look back and talk to those guys a lot, and how, what do they think of the show?
I haven't spoken to Kevin in quite a while. He's got I think he's got one son, Max, and Brian's got a kid now. I speak to Brian a fair bit. Brian, I just find him hilarious. He's very dry, has a sense of humor, which I enjoy. And so I speak to Donnie Rose. In fact, I just videotaped a Zoom call with Broadway Donnie Rose, who was worked with me for season 2 and 3, I think, or 4, season 2 and 3. And we videoed it, and I'm going to put it out on my YouTube channel for KVS fans. Kenny, obviously, Sebastian. I just worked with Sebastian and Matt Merrick on Pandemic, which we did in Canada and for Canada.
That was great. I liked it.
Yeah, CBC time. It was okay. Yeah. So, you don't speak to them. The thing is, people sort of see you as frozen in that sort of time. That I still live in the house somehow, and I'm not married with kids, and I don't, so that's kind of how it feels with me. So you grow, you move, everybody's got kids now. We know none of us, or very few of us, I had kids. My first set of twins I had in the first season 2 or 3.
Oh, that's wow.
But nobody had kids then. Kenny didn't, and now people are married with kids and different jobs. So,
life goes on.
Life goes on.
All right. I had to ask Dr. Goldfield. That is one of the weirdest characters I get. Not weirdest, but I think weirdest is probably the right word.
Weird works.
Yeah, he's a weird guy. What's his backstory? How the hell did he come into the show? And
Kenny has always had a affinity with finding characters. I don't know. I've never even asked him where he must have stumbled into his store and talked to him and thought he was hilarious. So that you'd have to ask Kenny. I don't know how he finds them, but he does find them. He's
random people.
He curates characters. That's what he loves.
He brings out the character in the random person that he finds. He's like, can I use this in a show?
Something like that. I don't even know. I don't know how he came across Goldfield. It could have been as simple as he asked for some kind of Korean.
Yeah. Give me the weirdest doctor in the back of the
and then
book.
One of the people on the payroll you're asking why was a sophist, a researcher. We would bring in the content that we needed for each episode, and we wouldn't sit in the phones and do it. We paid people to do that. So, they might have found this person. Then Kenny goes to check on them to see if he likes them. And he probably saw Goldfield and knew within 3 seconds this guy is gold.
Yeah, right. I had some smaller questions. The weed episode, I know. You've probably talked about it, so I apologize if I'm asking again. How much weed did you guys actually smoke? Do you remember?
No, I'm not really a weed smoker anymore. So I've got arthritis, so I'm taking a little bit of CBD and a little bit of THC just for the pain. But no, I don't remember. I hated doing that episode.
That seemed like a rough one.
Yeah, it's just just to have to. We did it. We sucked it up and did it. And I'm glad we did it, but it was shitty doing it. It's like the acid with an octopus on your head. It's not.
I can't imagine. What episodes did you think were going to suck but did well and vice versa? Was there a lot of those?
I've never been asked that one. Which ones sucked?
Or you thought when you were because when you're writing all of these down, essentially you don't know. You're just kind of hoping that this.
Well, I don't know what Kenny's going to do. Right, that was how we produced the show. That was very key. That I was in the dark about what he was going to do, and that my camera crew and my technical crew knew what he was going to do, but I didn't. So we caught it. But no, I never really thought this one's going to suck. I don't recall thinking that ever. I've always thought I have a great confidence in myself and in both Kenny and I's ability to make things funny. So
seeing a good idea, essentially, seeing a good premise, right?
Yeah. I mean, Kenny's thing was that he always wanted to do competitions that sounded funny, which was probably a very smart thing. Where I wanted to do like badminton and golf, which would have been hilarious, no question about it. But it wouldn't have looked as good in TV Guide. You know what I mean? As who can make a better woman, or who do women like more? Be in a gorilla suit the longest, right?
Yeah, yeah. Funny enough, though, like we're in the current state of YouTube, 90% of the work is in the title and the thumbnail, and the content
Yeah.
is like almost secondary. It's like everyone can
It's
have
a
good content, but you need
clickbait.
to click. You need to get people to click on it.
Yeah, well,
That's the
you
hard
know,
part.
that's the sort of, downside to cable and internet and streaming, is that there's just so much out there. But that's true with everything now, with this information age, where there's so much information out there. This is how people can vote for Trump, and because no one knows what's real anymore. There's just so much out there.
We're in the age of information, yet it's the most convoluted it's probably ever been with information, right?
Well, that movie Idiocracy talks about it quite well,
Yeah, it's a perfect movie. Pandemic. What was the main goal of that? Because
Well, I didn't even know. Kenny went and apparently had cut a deal for some show, and then he decided that we'll do it with Spenny, and they brought me in very late in the game. So it was one of those sort of, I just showed up, and what's going to happen.
Let's see what we can do. What we can turn.
All I knew was that we were going to be in isolation, that it was during COVID. And so I glammed onto that. We're doing a COVID special. I'm going to have my stick, my distancing stick. I'm going to know all the things about COVID, what you're supposed to do, what not to do. And then I just rolled with whatever punches that there were. And,
Was there a bigger plan for that? Because the way the trailer, I guess, is marketed, or it seems like it was going to be a couple episodes, but was it always supposed to be one episode?
Always a single episode.
Oh, really?
That I'm aware of.
Oh, man. That's really, I don't know. To me, it seemed like there was a part where you guys went to talk to a therapist, right? But that never ended up making the show. Or was it just footage that was not used, maybe?
It might be another trailer. I don't know where you would have seen it, for something else that we were trying to get going. I'm not sure.
Okay.
I'm not sure. It was a therapist from Intervention.
Man, I don't know.
Okay.
I don't have that. Yeah, the weird thing to me is like the show seems to have a popularity and still has an audience. I mean, to this day, I think it has probably like over 1 billion views if you could calculate all the times it got taken down and it got removed from certain countries. So what's the biggest challenge or hurdle bringing it to, if you were to come back and do any show in general, I guess, what's the biggest hurdle coming back?
Well, it's just for anybody, famous or not famous or with the track record, it's hard to get a TV show on the air. It's just very hard. For example, everyone goes Netflix. Why aren't you guys on Netflix? Well, Netflix, when it first started, maybe, but now
they're too corporate. They've become too big.
Yeah. And, this is what happens with film festivals and stuff like that. It's not that they've become too big. They've attracted now the biggest stars in the US, who want to do, The Crown, or, all over the world, not just the. And so now you're competing against that. It's just hard. It's just a hard business. It's, and Kenny thinks that executives don't really know how big we are. And I don't know if that's true or not true. I would never say that because I don't know, but he's pretty good at saying stuff that, and it may be true.
Sure.
And, and there's always the Me Too movement, cancel culture thing. Do we fit into that? I think we do perfectly, but I don't know. It's just one of those things they never give you an honest answer if someone passes on a show.
That's kind of unfortunate because then you have this you're not fulfilled with. Or maybe
they tell you something, but
it's not the truth, right?
Well, you don't. Yeah, I mean, every network has agendas, and you have to hit the right agenda at the right time, right? So, I think, and I do think most people, your average Joe or whatever, they're really naive, pretty much, about show business. Even with all of the movies about show business and everything. People, when I talk to them in touring, they don't even understand how tours work and how you make money touring,
right?
And, what it's all about.
Or they always tell you to do a Kickstarter or Patreon or something, right?
That's a lot of that. And we tried that with Jamie. I don't know if you remember Jamie.
Yeah, and he only got 10K from 40 or something like that.
And that was for this, KVS. So that put a sort of sour taste in my mouth about that. But if there's money to be made with it, I'm not against doing it again. But it made me think, if we couldn't, and then I would see people getting $200,000 who I'd never heard of doing God knows what. So I don't know what they were doing that we weren't doing. To me, it seemed like if we ask for a reasonable amount of money, we should be able to get it based on our following and
track record. Yeah.
But I don't know. Maybe we let Jamie do it. We didn't put enough into it. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's easy. I mean, I still get people saying to you guys should do another season. Like
it's so easy to say that from the outside, not knowing the amount of effort.
I think we've thought about that.
Yeah. We don't like easy money.
Yeah, you should be on Netflix. There's an idea. Okay, good.
Some stoner rock.
Should I breathe in and then out? Is that the next thing you're going to tell me? Like, come on.
Right.
But you have to be nice. Well, I don't have to be nice because it's part of my shtick.
Right. I mean, they're just a really like a big fan. Like they just want to see you. I mean,
no, and that's the other thing, of course. But we're talking about the naivety about how difficult the business is to navigate and how tricky it is to monetize. That's it. And part of the social media ethos is everybody's got a platform and an opinion now. Right?
Of course.
There needs to be very little study or very little knowledge or very little research. People bloviate their opinions, and I do too. But so it's a cacophony of fucking shit, basically, and you got to sort of find your way through it. And I'm always trying. I'll give myself that.
Yeah, you have to kind of keep. I mean, in this space, at least.
Well, I don't have to. I could go dig ditches and do something else for a living.
That's gonna be a rough one.
Yeah, I mean, but I like doing this, but I'm not going to do it. I won't. I mean, it's not even like it's a choice, right? If you can't earn money doing something, you have to do something else. So far, I've been lucky, and I'll keep doing it until such a time that there's no profit in it, and then I won't be able to do it anymore. At least I'll always play guitar. I'll always be funny.
You'll have something that you love to do. That's kind of big. Yeah. This was a behind the scenes kind of question because there was an episode I was watching, the radiation one, where so that you didn't actually get radiated, or did you?
No.
Okay. So here's my question, I guess. They were saying that you were like starting to pick up on Kenny's like little tricks and all his little schemes, and you were trying to look back at footage from the camera crew, and then he got next level and he started planting footage, right? Is that how that went down?
That's I have to say I've never heard that before.
No.
I mean, it was in my interest, in the show's interest, for me not to spend all my time thinking about what he was going to do to me.
Right.
Because then what I would we'd do a competition and I'd hide somewhere in the city. Not going to make a great show. So there's pragmatic things that you have to do to produce a TV show. So me being defensive was not going to make a good show.
Sure.
So it was decided very early on by myself, and Kenny agreed that you just do your thing, And it wasn't like I didn't know he was going to do something cheaty or whatever you want to call it. It was just I didn't know what it was going to be, and I was too busy doing what I had to do to win the competition. So it was, it just didn't do anybody any good if all I did was care about, it bothered me that he cheated. I certainly said that throughout the whole series. And I predicted different things occasionally that were usually comedic in nature and not particularly realistic that he might do. But
I think people don't give you credit enough, in the sense that, not to butter you up too much here, for fuck's sakes, I apologize. But he was pretty fucking devious. Like some of the ways I wouldn't have thought of half of these things if I was in the middle of it. So it's like, it's so easy from the outside looking in.
That's Kenny, but that's Kenny,
Yeah.
You could apply that to a business deal he's doing, or beating me in a competition. One of my favorite Kenny stories, which I think really encapsulates his approach to life, which was, we were at a place in LA in Beverly Hills called Nate and Al. It's a famous deli. And we're eating, and he's not a big attention guy. Like, he doesn't pay attention very much. But this time he was particularly, it seemed distracted as we were talking, and he kept going to the bathroom like 4 times. And I'm going, dude, like, you got the shit, or you got a urinary tract infection? Yeah. What's going on? And then he finally explained to me that Jeffrey Katzenberg was sitting at a booth near us, and he was with his son. So Kenny kept walking by the table in the hopes that maybe Katzenberg's son would know him.
Oh my God.
And then all of a sudden he'd be talking to Katzenberg, who's a Hollywood icon. And, this would never occur to me. I mean, first of all, I wouldn't have known
this way of thinking.
Yeah, it's a very smart, that's the thing. I always try to give Kenny his due. I'm much more fair to him than he is to me. And that's always been historically true. In fact, the only times he says nice things about me is it whispers in my ear when he's really, really hammered, which is maybe 3 times in my life. But, so
he's playing a character like most of the time. I think most people can.
No, it's not a character, man.
No, I mean like he's putting on the negativity always around. Like he's upping it.
I mean, that's true. That's true. He's much more concerned with how he's seen than I am. Obviously, I have no shame, and I believe that I'm a reverse heel is the only thing I can call myself. Where at one time, maybe the 50s, eating your vitamins and, like Hulk Hogan, saying your prayers and, doing the right thing was cool. And then the Attitude Era hit in wrestling and the bad guys became the good guys. So to me, like I'll do stuff like I'll go on my social media and I'll find a video on YouTube of some lady folding a fitted sheet, which is a very complex thing to do if you ever do it. And I'll post that knowing it's just going to these people who think they're so cool. See, to me, nothing is less cool than trying to be cool.
Sure.
That's where I come from. Right. So, but that's just my opinion, and it's a very diverse world out there. So, but that's it. I find comedy in that dynamic, that sort of, I'm smarter than you, you're an idiot. You play video games too much.
Feel personally attacked. I don't
intrinsically funny about it, and it's very true to how I feel. So it's a win-win for me, right?
Yeah, that's fair. Believe it or not, we've already got 50 minutes. You're working on some content. Anything you want to plug, promote?
Well, I can't really say what the show's coming, but it's going to be. That's why the green screen's up. I'm starting to shoot some stuff the next day or two. Kenny and I will hopefully hit the road again. One thing that we're really excited about is when gigs start up again, we're going to take the 5 years of material that we've worked on. You constantly have to write new material when you're on the road because you can't play Edmonton with the same show you did the year before. So we're going to sort of do a best of all of our life performing and film it. Awesome. Like most of the time you see us online, it's somebody in the audience with a fucking phone.
True. But so those videos get so many views. Yeah, that's brilliant.
But wait till we're going to do a real one with cameras and, be slickly produced. And
so it's almost like a comedy special, but it's in your own way of doing it.
Yeah. Awesome. Very, very independent, and we'll figure out how to make money with it. But it'll be a nice sort of time capsule for us because, we've been doing these live shows and there really isn't any decent video of any of it.
Yeah, no, there isn't.
Little phone things of me sticking my finger up some guy's ass.
Honestly, that's pretty clear in my memory. If someone asked me to draw that out for them, I could probably do a pretty solid.
Well, look, I have to say, I mean, I'm very self-deprecating and I think I'm very grounded, but that prostate exam bit is pretty fucking classic by any.
I agree.
By any generation.
I agree.
I mean, it's perfect, right? Because he thinks I'm being humiliated, and I think I'm doing a cancer
public service,
a public service. I think it's fucking brilliant. So I'd like to get that really covered nicely on film. In fact, I wanted to do when we were putting it to rest because you can't keep doing the same. That was our greatest closer ever. I hasten to say, and anyway, so. That I thought when I did the last one, I wanted like Mounties to come out with the rubber glove, like it was an event,
traditional like ceremony
circumstance for the final prostate exam. But I'm sure I'll be doing it again for the.
I mean, that also speaks about your fans. I mean, fans will be ruthless, but then you realize that you guys are the actual weirdos that are like enjoying all of this.
Well, the funny thing about that was when we decided you know, when like Kenny would always pitch me ideas. And then when I say yes to something that he knows is, you know, oh my God, first of all, I can't believe he wants to do it. Second of all, it's going to be fucking phenomenal. So then it became, okay, well, Spenny's willing to do this, but will we ever get some guy in the audience to come up and let me? The truth is, all but one.
Really?
Yeah. Every time we found, sometimes it took 5 minutes to get someone to, you know, to get the crowd going. Come on, you know, somebody. And it's mind blowing.
That's crazy.
It's, you know, and I don't think it's and I tell them it's no big deal. You know, I don't think it's a big deal or anything. I'm not uptight that way, but the world is pretty uptight, and I thought for sure, great bit, but it's never going to happen.
It makes sense for you. It makes sense for your fans. But if you like took that out of the equation and just show that to like a random person on the street, you're like, wait, what? Someone actually wanted to get fingered by this guy.
Yeah. Again, you know, I don't like it calling fingered. I like exam.
Okay. Fair.
Yep.
But
and
yeah,
so that was a great little bit. I don't miss doing it, but I think it's one of the great. I would love to get that on, like, you know, captured properly on film with close-ups. And
yeah, this is an hour. Appreciate your time. I'll leave your YouTube channel somewhere here so people can check it out. But thanks for coming.
That's good. Send it to me, man.
Sounds good. Appreciate it.
All right, Nelly. Thanks, buddy.
Have a good one. Bye.